As you're getting ready to make that final push towards the end of the season to finish strong or just win in your fantasy playoffs, sometimes a rookie is all you need to get you over the edge. Sometimes there's these prospects that come up, have an instant impact. Let's talk about a couple more prospects who just got the call, a couple more who might still get the call and help you out, even if it's just for the final week or two. Now, that Cardinals offense still looking for a shot in the arm, and that's why they called up a guy I talked about a couple of weeks ago. We finally get to see Thomas Sajasi in the infield for St. Louis. Now, our first thought was that he might be playing second base because Nolan Gorman continues to struggle. Maybe some sort of a platoon there. Interesting though, his first game, he's actually at shortstop. Mason Wynn, has had a really good season, excellent defender, but they're trying JC there out at short. And what's nice is that he can kind of slot in anywhere. He actually came up also playing third base, so third, short, second, wherever they need him, he might move around the diamond. I've got to think he'll be mostly at second base, though we'll see. Did go 0 for 4 in his debut, but hey, at least he wasn't at the very bottom of the lineup. And this is a guy who does have a good hit tool. This is not someone who's going to sell out for power, not like Nolan Gorman, in other words. He can hit for average. He was actually well over 300 average at the AA level. This year dropped down a little bit, hitting 253 at AAA, but he does have over 20 home runs, so maybe he sacrificed a little bit of contact for power, which is not a bad thing. Again, for fantasy purposes, we do want some pop. But overall, this is a pretty balanced hitter profile. Not going to get you too much speed, if any. Let's see what he can do here. Again, he could hit his way into a semi-regular role. And of course, that gives him some viability in fantasy down the stretch, especially you're in a deeper league. Definitely if you're in an NL only league and you just need a boost, let's see what Sujasi can do. One team that's been pretty aggressive in calling up prospects this whole past month is the Angels. Not because they need help, trying to make that wild card. We're way beyond that. In fact, I think we pretty much gave up hopes for an Angels playoff berth. Let's see, December? All right, but seriously, the Angels do need some help now. Kevin Pillar just hit the IL, and then Joe Adell moved to the 60-day IL. That opens up another spot for a guy like Jordan Adams, who got the call on September 7th. Now, Adams did already have a cup of coffee with the Halos last season. Did not go swimmingly. He hit 128 in 40 plate appearances, but he's done his time at the AAA level. Was having a pretty good season. He's getting another crack. While he was not in the lineup on Tuesday night, he has already been in the lineup a couple of times, 1 for 6 so far. This is a guy who has decent power, but he does have a lot of speed. In fact, last season at AAA, he stole 44 bases. So if he gets on the base path, could cause some trouble. We'll see how the average plays out here. Again, I don't want to take away from his small sample size at the majors. Last season, not a high hit tool type of player. The average will be okay, 250s, 260s if he can adapt to major league pitching. And then again, could get you some steals here and there with a little bit of pop. There really are a lot of unfamiliar names in that Angel lineup these days. So look, let's see if anybody sticks. This is a chance for all of these guys, Adams included, as I guess you can call him older prospect, to prove his worth. I say that, and he's all of 24 years old, but the way things go these days, 21, call him up. Well, look, Adams is a former first-round pick, not very high on their prospect ranking list. This is not a super deep farm system, but he's 29th in the Angels organization. Again, he's got something to prove, so let's see if he takes advantage. And then another prospect, this time a pitcher who's been on my radar. Wasn't sure if Richard Fitz would get a chance in Boston, and it looks like he has. Now, what's interesting is there's not really an obvious opening there. It looks like he might be kind of in that swingman role, long reliever, spot starter. He did get a start, and it wasn't too bad. 5 2/3 innings, only gave up 2 earned runs. Close to getting a quality start his very first time out. Only struck out 2 batters, but again, first crack at the majors. Yeah, it'll do. Fitz, also 24, put in plenty of time in the minors. He did strike out over a batter per inning throughout his time this past year at AAA, so he does have some K upside. Look, this isn't somebody who's going to light up the radar gun. It's not somebody who's, at the top of these prospect lists, but he's a solid arm. He can get it done. Got a plus fastball, a pretty decent slider. good changeup, control isn't really an issue here. So while, again, the ceiling isn't as high as some of these other pitchers, I believe he's got at least a safer floor. But again, the real issue with Fitz is he going to have a chance to stick in that rotation? We'll see. Maybe he can supplant a Cooper Criswell, something like that. Maybe they'll go with a six-man rotation down the stretch. Hard to say. So I want to see how he's used first and foremost, but definitely worth keeping an eye on. And now, time for the wish list. Let's get to some number ones, top prospects that we want to see get the call back up. Look, I mentioned Kumar Rocker before last week. It happened, got called up. Maybe Bubba Chandler for the Pirates will be next. So now that guys like Paul Skeens, Jared Jones have graduated from being prospects, Chandler is the top arm and overall prospect for the Bucks farm system. That tells you something. Look, there's one thing the Pirates are doing right. It's producing young pitching. Maybe Chandler's next. Of course, he, just like, well, pretty much any pitcher out there is not going to have Skeens upside, but he's looking pretty good so far. Was having a decent season at the AA level, 3.70 ERA, a whip just barely over 1, and then he got promoted to AAA and was even better. In 5 starts at the AAA level, 1.93 ERA, 1.04 whip, and K percentage of over 30% between both levels. That's what you want to see. Now, based on age, limited time at AAA, not expected to be called up necessarily this season, but there's always a chance you get that 1-2 start down the stretch, and that alone could make it worth it if Chandler is the real deal. So keep an eye on the situation. At this point, well, the Pirates really don't have much to lose. Why not let him make his debut in September? And when you have such a deep farm system like the Cubs, there's plenty of guys who could be knocking down the door on any other team, but the Cubs have turned things around recently, so maybe we don't see their top prospect, Matt Shaw, this year, but maybe we do. Now, it's interesting because it was just a lot of frustration throughout the entire first half of the season for the Cubs, especially on offense. But in the second half, they have definitely turned it around. They're 7th in the majors in runs scored. And there doesn't seem to be an obvious gap here in terms of the diamond, their lineup. I mean, they've got some players who are at least productive on a daily basis, and Matt Shaw doesn't really fit a need for them, but maybe they just need a boost on the bench. Maybe they want to give the kid a try and see what he can do. So, in that case, Matt Shaw should definitely interest you. This is a middle infielder with some legit power. Now, since getting promoted to Iowa, well, he's doing okay, hitting 244, 4 home runs, 11 RBIs in 82 at-bats. He did miss a stretch of time, but just came off the IL, so if he begins to pick things up and get hot, again, that could be enough to prompt the Cubs to at least put him on the bench. What's most encouraging, 21% strikeout rate, a 10.5% walk rate. That plate discipline is definitely going to play up. So again, you never know. Injury could strike at any time. Just be on the ready. Keep an eye on a guy like Shaw. You're still following along here, trying to beat the breakout, grab those top prospects. That means you're doing something right because you are still in it. Of course, you're still following your fantasy team and hopefully in contention. I want to see a lot of y'all take some championships home this year, and this is a good way to do it. Don't forget, still got waiver wire coming out every week, so check that out. If you do play fantasy football, you're going to want to check out our football channel, Fantasy Endgame, the original, right here.